perhaps. Um, so it's the fourth noble truth is the way to knowing, vidya. And it's a knowing that's not um, kind of knowledge as we think of it in terms of, collecting information or doing analysis, and that's in the normal sense perhaps of the word. It's this kind of direct knowing, directly knowing based on our observable experience of living. And meditation is part of living. Simply, we create a bit of a laboratory to directly observe life unfolding in our meditation. So someone that has this knowing has developed, so you could say, the third noble truth, which is that this notion of a separate self that's in control of life is a misperception, that we don't gain happiness by clinging to what we perceive as pleasant and pushing away what we perceive as unpleasant. In fact, it's by allowing everything to be, by not clinging to anything, that we can find non-suffering, find freedom. So someone that has that knowing, has this vijja, when that occurs, right view springs forth. It emerges and appears. And when right view springs forth, right intention springs forth. When right intention springs forth, right speech springs forth. And when right speech springs forth, right action springs forth. When right action springs forth, right livelihood springs forth. And when right livelihood springs forth, right effort springs forth. When right effort springs forth, right mindfulness springs forth. And when right mindfulness springs forth, right concentration springs forth. So those are the elements of the Eightfold Path. And it's not an action that a person does, but rather it's the result of letting go deeply and deeper and deeper. And the way I was practicing with it is I thought it was something I had to make sure I did. And when I didn't do it, little judgment voice would arise, and I'd go, yes, I didn't do that. Bad Dharma practitioner. The judgment would, and then I'll just have to try harder, particularly around right action and right speech, and the others as well. Mindfulness practice and so on, concentration practice, effort. So it's not, so we don't look at it so much as something that we do, but it's something that we allow to emerge once we're in the Dharma stream. So we're just allowing it to emerge. It emerges as part of the Eightfold Path. We become it. It's not something we do, it's something that we are. Once you've touched this element of the third noble truth, where you see that you see through the misperceptions, you see the cause and the cessation of dukkha. You've touched that, your true nature, the essence of your being. Then the Eightfold Path springs forth. It springs up. It emerges moment by moment in life. So this word sama, which is sumyak in Sanskrit, sama in Pali, often translated as right or proper. I think another way you could look at it is complete. I've heard that word used at times. It's also a word, the Sanskrit word is also a tool. It's kind of a ladle that's used in sacred rituals in pre-Buddhist traditions. So it was a word for a kind of a sacred instrument. And so it kind of points to the sacredness of the word. You know, these words get used in, you know, 20, almost 2,600 years ago in a particular context, in a particular culture, in a country, and then we translate them. And I think sometimes we might lose some of the essence or the richness of the word. And I think in this case, um, that sama might mean more than right or wise. I mean, those words capture a part of it and are useful in that way. But for me, I think it comes together more as a word that's pointing to a sacred wholeness or completeness. There's a sacred element to it, and there's an element of wholeness or completeness, harmoniousness, um, being in harmony as well. So we could call it complete view, whole view, sacred view. Um, yeah. So it's more to do with how a person becomes